So just to kick things off really nicely and naturally, I'll start with you, Maya. Can you please just introduce yourself and what you do at Global?
Hi, everyone. I'm Maya Mulch, and I am the Director of Programmatic and Data Strategy at DAX.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt. I'm Out-of-Home Director at the 7 Stars, and I'm responsible for driving effectiveness, innovation, and creativity in all that we do in the wonderful world of outdoor.
Hello, I am Ed Johnson. I work in the inventory development team at the Trade Desk.
Hi folks, I'm Alys Donnelly and I take care of all things programmatic out of home at GroupM.
Thank you, guys. Right, just to start, I've just got a very brief introduction because I thought this was quite poignant and relevant. So last week in Lisbon was a World Out of Home organisation. They had their big annual event. And interestingly, the president, Tom Goddard, had predicted that out of home will double its market share in the next 5 years, and that of that revenue, 30 to 50% of that would be traded programmatically. Now, to put that into perspective in the UK, roughly the outdoor market is about £1.4 billion. Of that, 63% is digitally traded, and of that digitally traded revenue, under 5% is programmatic. So you can look at that in two ways. One, there's lots to do, but also there's an extremely exciting opportunity for growth. And the panel today will go through that in a little bit more detail, and hopefully we will dispel some of the myths and leave you guys all excited about the world of programmatic outdoor. So to kick off, a very simple question. I'll start with you, Alys. How would you define programmatic outdoor?
Programmatic's one of those funny old words, isn't it? I think we sometimes tie ourselves in knots a little bit around what it is and what it isn't. But I think for me, fundamentally, it's around automating the process of buying media in our world, using data to add value to that buy, and using programmatic architecture like your DSPs, your SSPs, your DMPs.
Awesome. Ed, how about you?
My answer is very similar. Yeah, programmatic simply means the automated buying and selling of ads. But that automation means that you get some real benefits, particularly around data, so you can start to do some really powerful, cool and funky executions as well, if you will.
Absolutely. Maya, how about you? You've sat on both sides of the end.
I have.
From trading and also publisher side, so
Yeah,
how do you define it?
I would say it's near real-time transaction of digital outdoor space using programmatic technology like a DSP and SSP. Similar.
Matt, how about you? And we'll lead on to the following question. After you define that, how are advertisers using programmatic out of door effectively?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a sort of a trend in answers here. Look, for me, it's definitely the automation fueled by data. So it's the automation of that buying process through DSPs and SSPs, as we said. But I think, importantly, it's moving away from buying panels to buying audiences, all the while fueled by that powerful sort of first and third-party data. So, yeah, an exciting opportunity for brands, I think.
And how do you find advertisers currently are using programmatic out of door? Is it different to how they buy their traditional outdoor?
Yes, I think we're seeing brands use programmatic digital out of home in a variety of different ways. I think, and Alys and I were talking about this in a sort of a chat on Friday. I'd sort of traditionally seen it more probably as around sort of like quite lower funnel, real kind of conversion driving activation, and it does that fantastically. It's about being the right place, the right time, the right message, and the right audience fueled by that data. So it's truly powerful at that sort of lower end. But I think what we're now sort of starting to see is programmatic digital out of home activating more kind of mid and upper funnel. It's where it gets really quite exciting, I think. If we look at like Burnett and Field, the godfathers of effectiveness, they always talk around sort of success for brands is about reaching as many people as possible. And we know that outdoor is perfectly placed to do that. It's a truly broadcast medium. But what programmatic digital out of home now allows us to do at that mid and upper funnel is a slightly more sort of targeted layer of broadcast awareness and consideration. So really, really sort of powerful. In terms of a sort of a good example of how I've sort of seen brands utilize programmatic digital out of home within our business is the work we probably did with Free Now. So for those of you who don't know, Free Now is a taxi hailing app. And I guess the insight around that sort of category is, or what drives activation is immediacy. How how available is that kind of next nearest taxi. So through a programmatic digital out-of-home buy, we were able to use their first-party data and showcase how many minutes away your nearest taxi was. So really, really powerful first-party data applied. But I think where it got really, really interesting was then overlaying third-party data. So overlaying the likes of Network Rail or TfL data and delay data. So then obviously a further point of need or a category entry point for people within this sector. And we saw some really, really powerful results off the back of that. So yeah, in quite a few different interesting ways.
Well, brilliant campaign as well, so awesome example. Talking about data, and as a data-driven approach to digital out-of-home, what type of data is available to advertisers and what our publishers bring to the party? I'll start with you, Maya, sort of in terms of, are we seeing a demand for data from clients, or are we seeing a lot of that come from third party and the DSPs?
I think it's a bit of both, but I would say in the programmatic outdoor space, I think there's just a readiness to want to think about how to apply data and be more efficient and contextualize your digital outdoor buys in as many ways as you can. So looking at, this weekend we had a campaign for a coffee company who, was optimizing their creative messaging based on the temperature because it was boiling hot here. Like nobody's going to buy their hot coffee. Like everybody knows that example, but that happens all the time. And I think that readiness to apply different data metrics and look at different sources of data to inform your buys is something that programmatic is just set up for by the nature of how the industry is operated.
How about you, Alys? Obviously, you've got lots of experience of buying lots of campaigns, using data. What are you seeing that's most effective use of data, and any great examples of advertisers that are using it well?
Yeah, I recognise that coffee campaign. Yes, so I think different advertisers are approaching this in different ways. And I think where it works really well is when advertisers work out what matters to them, what are they sitting on that can really help, and how can that be applied in a really meaningful way to their campaign. It's not about using data for the sake of using data. It's around finding the right use case. So there's lots of great examples, but we really like one where we did for not just any supermarket, but a supermarket brand who used their loyalty card data, married that with our journeys data to zero in on where their clients were and how they're moving throughout the working week. So really taking advantage of both their first-party data, our data, and out of home, what it does really well. It can capture people when they're on the move and in different mindsets throughout the day. So that's a really great way of being able to deliver different messaging to one client set over another. But there are other clients who are maybe at the beginning of their journey and they maybe are testing things out, and you kind of need to meet them where they are and find the right use of data for them at that time. So even simple integrations around the weather can work a treat. It doesn't have to be super complex. It just has to be really appropriate for what your client is trying to do and what they're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Ed, how about you from your side? Because obviously you get to see lots of different display buying, planning and activation. Are there different or consistent data sources you're seeing being used well, or is it different for outdoor?
Yeah, I mean, we fundamentally believe that all campaigns should kind of start and end with data. So we've got tools that allow advertisers to use first-party or third-party data sets to identify screens that will, capture their audience and perform better. Advertisers are using premium third-party data sources. We've heard some examples, but we've got the likes of Pirites that are upweighting certain areas where pollen count's really high, really simple, lovely execution. We're also, it was great to hear what Alys was saying about what data advertisers are actually sitting on, because we think first-party data is really, really powerful. And actually, we're working with certain, retail opticians that have their own data feeds that they're tapping into. So actually showing almost in real time what available appointments they have in local stores that are kind of nearby that certain screen. So really powerful, different ways that you can use data. But simplicity is a really key way of delivering a really powerful message.
Absolutely, great answers. We heard earlier, actually, I think it was in the second panel, there was a conversation around omnichannel and how that works. And we heard an example that Amber at Digital Willow gave around the Isle of Wight campaign. So using outdoor to optimize your display campaign, see what creative worked best, and then deliver that on your outdoor screen. Are you seeing more and more omnichannel approaches to campaigns, and what roles programmatic outdoor playing in that mix?
Exactly that, yeah. So one of the key benefits of programmatic out-of-home is being able to plug in your out-of-home campaign into your wider programmatic buy so that you can properly analyze how your ads are landing and performing all the way through the consumer journey. So yeah, I mean, that's what we're seeing a large amount of our advertisers doing, yeah.
And Maya, what about from your side? Obviously, we've got the audio and outdoor working together. Are we seeing examples of that being aligned?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that omnichannel DSP could enable that, but I think from a media owner standpoint, you know, we have audio as part of DAX, we have outdoor as part of DAX, and we've got a product that syncs the two. So that you can follow your outdoor, you can upweight your outdoor campaign based on the delivery of your audio campaign. So it's kind of doubling down on that frequency in areas of the country or geographies that are more likely to have heard your audio campaign. So making sure that we have, you know, the right frequency and are able to optimize between the two channels from a media owner standpoint on our side as well. So we've done that across a number of campaigns, and it's been something that we've got clients who've come back and repeated that booking, so something that has a bit of a success story behind it.
Awesome. Now I'm being flagged to go to poll, so if we can bring that up, can we? Oh, okay. So if you haven't answered the questions already, please do. And assuming that means not many people have done it, so we need to get more people to do it. Let's all get on there and answer those questions so we can go through it in a couple of minutes' time. Okay, here's where we're at the moment. Thank you. All right, so thinking about sort of, we've talked about integration of display and other forms of digital media. How can brands best integrate campaigns across public and private screens? Alys, I'll go over to you on that one.
Yeah, I think it's really a hot piece in the industry at the moment, and clients are looking to make their media plans work harder, trying to find the synergies between different parts of their plan. And it's definitely a place where, you know, it adds value. We know intuitively that it does, but we're now also getting the research through to show that as well. So we're really lucky in the out-of-home space in that we've got these giant, high-quality LED screens, which it really sends a powerful message. If a brand is speaking up in the public square, it portrays a confidence, it portrays a lot of positive values about the brand. But we also know that, you know, if we're sat even at home, we're watching the TV, but we're also on Twitter at the same time, we know that that's the reality of how people live their lives. So out of home can really play into that. And we see it where, you know, we got that 1-2 punch, as Maya was talking around, we target in different areas. But we often see it with programmatic out of home, really, really positive at drawing kind of some of those mid-level functions. We ran some multi-channel campaign for a well-known fried chicken brand, and we saw the programmatic out of home part playing a really powerful role in driving consideration, kind of those mid-funnel metrics, and then more of the display elements really pushing forward on intent a little bit further down the funnel. So not to pigeonhole what we do in any one part, but it really is, there's a powerful relationship between what programmatic out of home can do with the addition of the data and the targeting when combined with, you know, the more private screen where we might want to take action, haven't been primed to do so with the programmatic out of home.
Absolutely. In terms of sort of measurement, so we've talked a lot about, you know, programmatic outdoor is quite new, I guess. We looked at the numbers earlier. It's still a small percentage of that digital piece. You've got to work harder when you're a new medium. You've got to have case study, you've got to have example, you've got to prove the efficacy and success. So how do you think we best measure success in digital out of home? Is it a upper, lower funnel? How does it work? What's the metrics that we could use to sort of hang our hats on? I'll go over to you, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's really about just driving measurable outcomes. It's a term I've heard a few kind of times this morning. We've heard some great kind of usage examples now from that sort of free now example. So Alys was talking about the supermarket one, which is really, really strong, and through to driving sort of action to buying drinks when it's sort of hot weather data triggers. But yeah, I think, actually at a panel earlier today as well with sort of the driving measurable outcomes within programmatic channels. Had a really, really nice example for a tourist board. I think we visit Isle of Man, but they had some really, really kind of compelling results, and they'd applied digital out of home to this, programmatic digital out of home, and they saw an insanely strong kind of cost per acquisition off the back of that. So it really kind of goes back to the kind of the main KPI we're trying to measure, and I think it's always important to make sure we're clear about why we're using programmatic digital out of home. But as I said now, I think it's really kind of activating and delivering success all the way through the funnel.
And then how about from your side, measurement? Are we seeing any new metrics or anything new that sort of programmatic's adding to that omnichannel piece?
Well, yeah, I think this is really about, educating brands around, sometimes I think we can get a little bit caught up in media KPIs, and they are, don't get me wrong, they are very important, but ultimately what a brand should be looking at is their business outcomes. So are they selling more of their service? Are they, selling more of their kit, essentially? So, again, we've got tools that allow you to pixel up your site so you can see if someone is likely to have been exposed via digital out of home, and then you can see if they've actually clicked through and converted on your site. In addition to that, we can also work with third-party measurement footfall companies, so you can see if people are actually being driven to your store. So these are really kind of the building blocks about how brands should be understanding whether something is working or not, and we can now do that in the digital out-of-home space.
Right. Maya, one for you here, because obviously you've got a lot of experience from both sides. What can we learn from the wider digital and tech world to help programmatic outdoor reach its potential? So to get to that 30-50% of overall outdoor spend, what can we learn and sort of take to drive that forward?
I think there's probably a need to focus on standardization. And, we've learned from channels past on the kind of growth trajectory can go pretty quickly. And it's just best to have a bit of a lay of the land in terms of, measurement and protocols, et cetera, that everybody's aligned against, especially if we think about expanding into multiple markets. We're all using more or less the same technology providers to kind of enable that buying and selling through programmatic channels. So making sure that we're all leveraging the same protocols makes sense to me.
Matt?
Yeah, I think for me, just ensuring accountability and transparency in everything we do within programmatic digital out of home is really, really important all the way through the kind of the supply chain. Verification within digital out of home is a topic and been at the forefront of the industry for a few years now. And there's independent partners, Uniled and Unilive, that do a lot in this space to ensure the verification of digital out of home campaigns for clients and brands. And we've seen recently the top four kind of come together, obviously with Global and Outsmart, the industry body, to create sort of play out to ensure the sort of this standardization and sort of all this kind of verification data and play out. So just making sure that, it's accountable and transparent. And Michelle, who you heard from earlier in the kind of the panel before, talked around our sort of focuses at 7 Stars as a business and the DSP we've created, which is fully sort of transparent and programmatic digital out of home should be no different, especially with verification. When you think of how granular a media buy could be within programmatic digital out of home, we're talking potentially thousands of lines on a media buy. So we need to make sure that the brands and clients are getting exactly what they pay for within that medium.
Alys, from your side, do you think we could be doing more, or do we think we give ourselves a hard time? Actually, there's a lot of good things and positivity around the programmatic out-of-home space and lots of stuff that we are doing and have available to drive it forward.
I think we should always be giving ourselves a hard time. We can always be better, right? We should always be striving to do better and be better. And I think for the most part we are, which is good news. I think the in some ways, luxurious position that we have is that we have the opportunity to bring together the best parts of the out-of-home space and the best parts of the programmatic space. So there are a lot of people on here who've worked both sides of the fence, done different things, been in different channels. We've seen some of the banana skins, shall we say, of other parts. We have the opportunity to get out ahead of it. Verification is absolutely crucially important, and I think that has become a lot more acknowledged as table stakes. It's not a fancy add-on, it's table stakes. We need to get that absolutely right from the word go, and I think there's a lot of really positive movement there. And it's really around bringing the best of what we've got. We've got this trusted public, brand safe medium, right? Brand safety is really a lovely thing. In out of home, it's basically leaves. It's trees, right? Are they covering up your screen or not? It's a different sort of conversation. So we need to be cognizant of what is relevant and appropriate between different channels. Can we always draw a parallel? Not always, but there are very valid things that we can and should take from different channels to work together. But I think the beauty of it is you've got a really strong broadcast channel that is picking up some of the best parts of the addressable TV world, the programmatic display world, and is able to enable those in our stream as well. So I think it's a really exciting moment. And I think there's a lot of folks here who are all very much motivated and excited about getting that right. And I think we have a really strong opportunity to do that.
And do you think sort of creatively we're seeing benefits of display and turning that into outdoor, or taking video ads and extending that onto a sort of higher impact, big format? Is there legs in that as a metric or as a strategy?
Yes. Short answer, yes. The really nice thing is that a 6-sheet in our world, think about your local bus stop, picture that in your mind, pretty much the same resolution as a mobile phone. Next time you're at your local bus stop, think about it, check your mobile phone out, it's basically the same sort of size. There are a lot of potentially quick wins for our clients to easily and without too much fuss, and all of our businesses can help clients do this, and we do, try and help them make the most of creative between channels, like taking the stress and some of the challenges out, making it easy for them to make the most of what they've got. And I think sometimes we can overcomplicate it. I think someone said it a bit earlier. Make it really simple. Show the uplift, show the benefit. And creative is a brilliant way to do that. Sequential messaging, targeting different creators, different audiences, really simple stuff, but done well, it really works.
And Ed, do you see that from your side? Are you seeing that sort of simplicity of taking a display and turning it into a big screen? Is that happening, or is that just theory at the moment?
I mean, we're seeing it in a multitude of different channels, but lowering the barrier to entry is always a good thing. But there is no reason why you cannot take the same post that you would be putting on a mobile phone and running that in other environments. Obviously, there's real efficiencies for brands in that sense as well. So yeah, it can definitely be done.
Brilliant. We'll go over to the poll. I think it'll be a good time to sort of have a see where we're at. Hopefully everyone's updated and answered. It did change, real time. Okay, so guys, the question was, what do you think is the most exciting opportunity that programmatic outdoor gives? I did see originally it was a cookieless solution, but that's now been taken away to dynamic triggers. I'll start with you, Maya. Anything, does that surprise you, or is that kind of the order that you would expect?
I mean, it's a pretty good balance, I would say. Yeah, I think the excitement around outdoor and activating it via programmatic is a data-driven approach with triggers that you can, turn off and on, and you have that control, you have that flexibility at your hands when you are a buyer. So it makes sense that would be so far leading.
Brilliant. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. Dynamic triggers doesn't surprise me that that's kind of leading. We talked about loads of really kind of nice application of third-party data triggers that brands can utilise. I think my sort of challenge around that would be trying to use first-party data as much as possible. I think that's always quite a sort of scary thing for brands. And Alys, you've probably seen obviously quite a few good examples coming from your side. But I think, just that's the key thing I'd like to see certainly more of within the industry at the moment.
Brilliant. Ed, from your side?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how high extension of digital display is, although it seems to be changing in real time, which is exciting in itself, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, we're working with agencies that are looking to use programmatic out of home to rebalance their whole holistic media plan. So topping up certain regions that are maybe people are underexposed to their CTV activity or their audio activity. So almost rebalancing the whole of their programmatic portfolio with out of home.
And Alys, how about you?
Not surprised. Dynamic triggers are the fun bits. These are things that often grab clients and advertisers' attentions, and for good reasons, right? These are some of the smart and the fun bits. And what's lovely about this is weather is fantastic, and weather triggering is brilliant. It adds a lot of value. It's very important. But what's exciting now is I think we're kind of over the Rubicon where feeds of data are much more able to be acted upon now. So flight arrival data, train data, changes in the FTSE index, goals scored in Premier League. These are all things that we can do now. And these are all things that give a lot of different opportunities to advertisers in a way that I don't think we've really pushed before as an industry. I think we're almost reaching this tipping point where there's going to be more and more and more and more. We've been doing the things that were slightly more straightforward because the ecosystem is growing as nascent. We're now at a space where there's a lot more interesting stuff we can do for clients. It's great.
Absolutely. No, brilliant. Absolutely great answers there. So just to wrap up, I guess, I'll ask the panelists one more question. So what advice would you give to brands? Maybe there's people in the room today thinking about entering the world of programmatic outdoor. What advice would you give to brands? Where should they start, or what should be their strategy? I'll start with you, Maya.
I think we're probably at a stage in the evolution of programmatic outdoor where you can now believe the hype. I think probably 5 or so years ago, there was a lot of noise about it, and then we kind of went through the Gartner hype cycle of like the trough of disillusionment, and now we're getting back to the like plateau of productivity. And so I think now's a good time to think about investing and playing around with it. You know, we've taken campaigns, digital assets, and like literally our team has reformatted them and used them for screens. So like, you know, get creative and yeah, try it out.
Brilliant. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, I think, well, it's quite interesting. From our industry data now from Root, digital out-of-home now reaches 83% of the UK audience. So we are talking a truly broadcast medium in itself now, so it's really, really powerful. So yeah, similarly to you, I think really it's kind of just get involved, test it. There's loads of fantastic data triggers we can use, be it first or third-party data. So yeah, just get involved, test it, ask questions. I don't think that you need to have quite a high sort of budget to activate within this space. We can test and learn, and I think that sort of test and learn mentality is really, really important with this. We can measure against these outcomes, so yeah.
Ed, how about you?
Yeah, I'd say probably don't be overwhelmed by the number of opportunities that there now are in the digital out-of-home space. You know, if you're just starting out, maybe just keep it simple. You can have some really powerful executions with just 1 or 2 data points. So yeah, just test and learn, give it a test, but yeah, keep it simple.
Brilliant. And Alys, to wrap up?
A lot of great advice there already, but I think that there is a lot of information out there for brands. So doing a little bit of research, but then I think also push your agency a little bit harder. Push your agency 5% harder. We love the questions. We want to help you. Be 5% braver. Think around, what are you sitting on? Is there anything that you can maybe bring something to the table that makes you different? And that will come across in your messaging. And thinking around what are the simple but really effective links. So what else are you running? Where's there any creative overlap? That can be quite simple. It's not going to cost the earth, but just thinking in a slightly different way and reaching out for help where you need it, because your agency will love to do that for you. There'll be other partners who will love to do that as well, and there's tons of information out there to just do a little bit of upskilling as well. So a little bit braver and give it a go.
Brilliant, thank you. So pushing your agency by 5, maybe 10, maybe even more percentage is a good plan. We'll go for 10. Brilliant, guys, thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Thank you.